going on, everybody? My name's Preston, this is John, and we are the Beer Chasers. So dude, we've been talking about doing this for quite a while. Here we are, episode 1.
That's right.
So yeah, before we got things kicked off, we wanted to kind of explain to everybody the concept behind the show. John and I are just huge beer heads. We probably drive everybody crazy at work with the amount of talk about beer we have. But before we really get started, I got to send a shout out to the Game Chasers. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and without the Game Chasers, I don't think we'd have the Beer Chasers. So Billy and Jay, you guys got an excellent show. There's going to be a link down here at the bottom. You can get a link to their show, and yeah, right down there. And yeah, thank you guys very much for putting on some awesome content and actually inspiring us to kind of do the same thing. So other than that, you know, Positive Contact was a beer that was a limited release. We're going to taste that a little later. And I drove 100 miles to get it. Not specifically to get it, but I was in town 100 miles away from Orlando. Finally had found some, been looking for it, brought it back, and we're going to taste that today. So that was kind of the philosophy of the Beer Chasers. You know, we're going to go out, we're going to try to find these hard-to-find beers. Craft beer in Florida is blowing up, so we're finally getting a chance to get some of these. I know Fat Tire's coming soon, New Belgian, so we're going to do some tastings of that.
Well, then the Unibrew 17, the 17 gram reserve is really the next step, and right, kicked it, because you know it was one of those only comes out limited beers, and then I was calling places up, and then I finally found a place that had it, Big C's down the road in Orlando, and that I think was what really ignited that spark for Preston. Yeah. Because as soon as I did that, he's like, dude, we got to make the Beer Chasers. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting little journey to get here, but it was pretty good.
So here we are. So before we get into some tasting, I wanted to kind of go over some of the terminology that you're going to hear during the show. So John, go ahead and go over that if you would.
All right, so the 3 big acronyms you're going to hear, first one is ABV. Alcohol by volume. Most of you probably know what this is, but just in case, I'll explain it. What that is, you know, most beers in America are 5% ABV, alcohol by volume, and what that is basically one of those is going to be the same amount of alcohol you're going to get out of one shot of whiskey. So if you got 10% ABV, twice as much alcohol. Pretty simple. SRM is the standard reference method. That simply is a color scale of the beers, 0 being white if you can get there. 20, it goes up to 45. 25 is black, but there are some beers that exceed that. Somehow they get extra black, like Preston Sure. I don't know.
Black. like my metal, extra black.
Maybe more opaque. Once you get past black, extra more opaque. I don't really know. The final one is the IBUs, and you're mostly going to hear that bragging rights on like IPAs. You know, that's how bitter it is. Like International Bittering Unit is what that stands for. The most it usually goes up to is 100. So 0 is no bitterness, very sweet. 100 is going to be really bitter. You know, pulls the enamel off your teeth. But some beers nowadays can even do 100 plus.
Yeah, so rate it 100 plus, just off the charts.
It's kind of like it's better. It's worse than 100, but so those are really interesting beers too.
All right, when we taste beers, you're going to kind of give it a rating based on 1 through 5 on a couple categories?
Yeah, 5 categories I'm going to go over is going to be, the first one is appearance, how the beer looks. SRM is going to kind of flow into there. But you know what I think, how the head looks, how nice and thick the head is, the cloudiness, stuff like that. The next one is going to be the aroma or smell. So I'm going to nose the glass, smell it, wait a few seconds, see what my nose picks up, if it matches what they describe. Third one is going to be tasting. Best part about drinking beer is tasting it. You know, you drink it, I'm going to say what I taste, the beginning of the taste, the middle, and the back end. So, you know, you're going to see a lot of that. And then the fourth one is going to be mouthfeel. How the mouth feels in your mouth, how it feels in your mouth. Sort of like a Guinness is going to coat the mouth nicely, whereas something like an American adjunct lager is kind of be more crisp and, you know, more carbonated. You know, there's a different feel per beer. And then the fifth one is my overall impression of the beer. I'm going to basically be judging it on its style. So I'm never going to compare a lager to a quad. That's just unfair in my book. That's comparing a baseball player to a football player to 2 separate categories. So for me, I think that judging it by style is the best thing.
Right. And while John's going to go ahead and do the more kind of professional aspect, I'm not quite as into it as much as he is per se. I love beer, just can't quite pick out the flavors as well. I'm going to give you a basic 1 to 10 rating, just overall how I feel about that beer. We'll keep it simple. So with that out of the way, let's drink some beer.
Let's drink some beer.
So right up first this week for our very first episode is the beer that started the entire beer chasing mentality, Positive Contact by Dogfish. Positive Contact is a hybrid of beer and cider that is brewed by the Dogfish Head Brewery. Its ingredients include Fuji apples, roasted farro, cayenne peppers, and fresh cilantro. It was first brewed May of 2012 and was intended as a limited edition run. However, it is now a seasonal rotation. It has an ABV of 9%, an IBU rating of 26, Rate Beer gives it a score of 92, and Beer Advocate gives it a score of 87. All right, so the head's finally killed down a little bit on the positive contact. John, do you get any smells off this? What are you smelling from this one?
Well, first of all, let me just look at it in the sunlight to get a real picture of how it looks. What I'm seeing is a lot of yellow to slightly golden color. I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but it's almost looks like a lager, I want to say. When we first poured it, yeah, you probably saw the pour video part, it had a lot of head, but it dissipated fairly quickly. It probably was because we just poured it straight in, but it worked. And now it's got a resting pillow of head that I kind of like on there, a nice white cloudy color.
Yeah, they call that lacing, right? When it sticks to the glass.
Yeah, you can see there's a good amount of lacing for a cider. Like, this is a very impressive cider so far, 9%, so there's a lot of alcohol there. So let me give it a nose real quick. Definitely has somewhat of a cider smell. You smell those apples, I like that. The cilantro is a tiny amount there. There's some spices I can't pick out, almost like not coriander or pepper, but
they say it's supposed to be cayenne. Cayenne's supposed to be in there, so you're getting some of that peppery. It's probably the cayenne.
There's something, some kind of spice. I can't pick it out, but it's there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is give this beer a taste and see how it goes. Wow, yeah, boozier than I expected, especially for a cider.
Yeah, for sure.
First thing I pick up is a slight bit of apple, but again, that booziness like takes over, and it's like a punch to the face, but it's a good kind of punch.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is a good 1-2 combination, like you said. There is a little bit of apple, but then right behind it, here comes the booze.
Yeah,
for sure.
Middle of the mouth, some of that spice comes through, and then at the very end, it's like a trickling of bitterness. I forgot what this one's bittering IBUs were on this, but it's definitely not that low, but it's not too much where it's unbearable.
Yeah, you can definitely taste a little bit of the bitterness, but again, I think it's a good combination with the apple. And like you said, for a cider, I mean, it's strong. It's definitely strong for a cider, which is something you're not really used to.
Yeah, for mouthfeel, I like the way that it coats the mouth, though. It's got a nice texture, I guess, to the beer, but it's not overly carbonated like a lot of ciders are, like your typical woodchuck ciders. Like, I feel that carbonation bouncing off my tongue and crispness, which I like, but that's a little too much. Like, this is a nice balance of carbonation. Yeah,
the best way I can describe it is it's got like a thick kind of feel to it. It's really the only way I can describe it. It's not syrupy, but it definitely lingers around in the mouth for sure. You swallow this, and it's going to stick around for a little bit. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's not a stout heaviness, but it's in between, I guess. Something, a cider and an ale or something in that range. A nice ale of some kind.
And again, an interesting note about this beer is it was brewed to. It was like a collaboration effort between Dan the Automator from Deltron 3030 and the brewers from Dogfish. And it was meant to, I believe, signify the release of an upcoming Deltron album, which 3 years later still hasn't been released. I think it was due in 2007. It's becoming the new Chinese democracy.
I was going to say, Guns N' Roses Chinese democracy, it sounds like.
We keep seeing rumors on the internet that's going to be released next month, and for some reason things won't come out. But yeah, it was initially a 2012 only beer, but I think it got high enough demand where they brewed a second batch. So
I did. I like it.
This is the original batch. Like I said, I went out and sought it and found it, but you can actually find this in the stores pretty commonly now.
Yeah,
so you don't have to drive 100 miles for this one.
Yeah, exactly. Especially it seems to be the local ABC. I saw it the other day there. I didn't pick it up because we had a bottle, but I was glad to see that.
And on that note, I'll say, it's a good beer. Was it worth driving 100 miles for? I didn't technically go for this beer, but I was there. I picked it up. I wouldn't do that again. I wouldn't chase this one down. But I would definitely give it a shot again. If you have somebody who's kind of on the fence kind of beer drinker, I think this may be a good introduction beer.
Especially the high ABVs for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The cilantro is kicking in more on that nose. Give it a whiff and let me know what you think. Like now it's warmed up a tiny amount. I'm smelling that cilantro a lot more.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I really didn't smell much of it at first, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. You smell cilantro, but no, it's there. It's definitely there.
Overall, I'd give this beer. It's hard to pick one because that booziness is a little more than I like. It's not unbearable, but
yeah. So let's go through the 5. So the appearance and the pour.
The appearance, I'd say. It's a cider appearance as it should be. I'd give it a 3 or a 4, probably a 4, just because it's supposed to be light. It's a cider.
All right, and the nose.
Nose. Let's go with the 3.5. A little lacking in some areas. I'm not picking up. I want more apple almost.
Yeah.
Something to give it like cider characteristic. Like this makes me initially think of some sort of like ale, more than a cider, which might be what they're going for. The tasting, I'd give it a 6.5 or 6 or 6.5. Just to go with the 6. Again, it's like kind of like a more simpler than I'd like to be. It's like with all those different things that said that came in it. I wasn't really tasting too much of that. It was hints of it, but not like it didn't really. It's a simple beer, almost. It's good beer, but it's just a little simple. So overall, I give it
Mouthfeel. You got mouthfeel.
Oh, the mouthfeel. That's right. Mouthfeel was great. I'd say that was a 4 or 5, especially for a cider. Comparing against other ciders, I'd say that's a 5 for mouthfeel.
Okay. So overall,
I'd say 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, like I said, just kind of being, I don't say a beer layman, but being a guy, who I can't necessarily pick out some of the flavors that John can. I'd rate this a solid 6.5 or 7. Being good, I think above average, but it's a decent beer. It's something I would definitely drink again, especially if it's on tap somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely on tap.
It's almost like, it tastes like a session beer. That's something you can drink and drink and drink, but you really can't put 10%. So I kind of like that aspect of it. It's very light, it's crisp, but this one could definitely get you in trouble. So I'll go 6.5.
Yeah, and yours is out of 10, right?
Out of 10, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just making sure. I mean, it's a good beer. I would go and buy it again probably. Not travel 100 miles like you did. But I mean, nothing is bad about this beer. It stands out in some areas. Great, like the mouthfeel. That cilantro at the end, that was nice. But again, it's sort of like a more simpler beer than I thought it was going to be with the description and Dogfish Head come from them.
Yeah.
But overall, can't say I'm disappointed. I like it a lot.
Decent beer, yeah. I drink it again. So you go, positive contact. For our first On the Town segment, the Beer Chasers visited the Sanford Homebrew Shop. Located at 115 South Magnolia Avenue in the Sanford Historic District, the Sanford Homebrew Shop is your one-stop shop for your homebrewing needs. During our visit, we had a chance to sit down with Aaron and Gary, owners of the Sanford Homebrew Shop, and here's what they had to say. How long has the shop been open? How long have you guys been here?
Well, we started next door inside Magnolia Square Market as sort of a specialty shop, along with Theo Hollerbach. That was in 2011, and we started in May of 2011. By summer of last year, we kind of outgrew the space that we had, so we got the opportunity to move over here starting in September. So we've been on our own since September of 12.
Well, when you guys both opened up the shop together, you guys?
Yeah. There were 2 owners, and right now the only 2 people that work here, so it makes it easy.
Cool. So why Sanford? Did you guys live here, or is this just a location you want to come to?
We both live within a mile here. Our wives both work next door on either side of us.
And we kind of took a look geographically where other things were happening, where clubs were, and Sanford's kind of on the way to or the way back from all of that going on. There's a burgeoning beer community emerging in Central Florida, and we can be on the way to all of those things, so it just made sense.
Yeah, there's Sanford's really come up a lot in the last couple of years. There's enough stuff now that when people come out to pick up ingredients, they stay and they have dinner somewhere, or they go out to there's a couple of really good bars around here now, good craft beer.
Yeah, we're hitting up Willow Tree as soon as we leave, so.
Sure, in place next to Willow Tree, so.
Yeah, a lot of people do the same thing, they're kind of, Sanford's is worth the drive now, and people come out and spend a few hours.
We've got a genuine Belgian beer bar in town, that's what they serve, that's what they focus on.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Bistro. You got the Imperial that focuses on craft beer, craft whiskeys, things like that. So it's it's awesome. For us, there's no real reason to leave Sanford anymore.
Yeah, perfect. How did you guys initially get started with homebrewing, from the very beginning?
Mine was just a curiosity to see if I could make it and see if I liked it. And when I got into it, I had a kit that was bought for me, and it didn't make any sense, and it ended up in my dad's garage, and it got sold. So I went out and I got a Mr. Beer kit just to see how cheaply I could brew beer, and then I found out that I really liked it, and so I just got more and more involved in it, more and more complicated with it.
Yeah, and my dad and grandfather used to make wine when I was a kid growing up, and beer once in a while too. And then, I'm from New England, my wife's from California, so great beer all the time. Moved to Florida about 6 years ago, and I was like, what the heck is going on?
Black in here for sure.
Yeah, and it's gotten a lot better, but at that time I was like, well, I'll just start homebrewing, and so started doing that for a few years, and then met Gary, and we started brewing together, and it's all.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Gary started with Mr. Beer, so you can start where anyone starts with Mr. Beer, which is a lot of people sometimes trash, but it's great to hear you guys have a homebrew store starting at that, those roots.
So for those who might not be familiar with the process, can you just go over kind of the high level of the basics of homebrewing? So I know there's a lot of steps involved, but just kind of the high level synopsis. If someone didn't know, kind of, hey, what do you do to do that?
Yeah, I mean the basic rundown of brewing is you take your grains, you steep them in warm water, and that converts the starches to sugar. Then you separate the grain from the liquid. You boil that liquid, which we call wort, which is unfermented beer. You boil that for an hour with hops in there. Maybe throw some more hops in at the end to get the aromatics back that boiled off from the first edition. Cool that down, put the yeast in there, let the yeast ferment for about 2-3 weeks. Give it enough time just to kind of settle and clear up, and then put it in bottles or put it in a keg. And
just like that, easy enough.
yeah,
Pretty simple.
Someone came in here today and said, hey, I want to get started. Kind of what's the initial investment going to be?
The initial investment, you're looking at the equipment kit, and that runs $100. And then you've got a couple of options. If you've got a few things at home that you can use and work with at the beginning, then you won't have to buy some additional things. But if you don't have like a 5-gallon pot or a 20-quart pot to work with, you're going to need to get one of those, and they run $39.99. A funnel, something quick and easy just to transfer one thing to another without splashing. A lot of people have that at home, so that's not really an issue at first. And a thermometer, something to take temperature. So if you've got those at home, then you don't need to buy anything more than the $100 worth of equipment.
Cool.
At first.
Yeah,
With the extract brewing.
Like any hobby.
Then the kits themselves run anywhere from $21.99 to $45, depending on the amount of fermentables, like the malt extract itself, and the amount of hops that are in it.
And do you guys have all that supplies here? Like, so they can just come to one stop here and get everything? Perfect.
Yeah, for the extract all the way through, we've got breweries that come in to get stuff. So we've got, like, behind us, a whole wall of grains. You can come in and weigh out whatever you want.
Like that guy's doing right there?
Yeah, so if you're not sure what you need, we'll do it for you.
Sweet.
We kind of let people do whatever they're comfortable doing. Get more familiar with the ingredients that way. But yeah, you can weigh everything out, run it through the mill, have it all ready to go when you leave.
Cool.
So same with the hops. We don't prepackage everything. That way people can come in, and instead of just reading the description on the package, they can actually open them and smell them and kind of figure out which one they're going for and actually learn the difference between them. Just take what they need, so they don't have you always just have a big box of leftover odds and ends of different stuff. And by the time we use it, it was always been pretty funky beer. But
Yeah.
we kind of want people to be able to come in and get exactly what they need, so that their ingredients are always fresh.
Yeah, we call that hoarder's ale, where you just kind of throw everything you have into a batch and see how it comes out.
One of my best batches have been one of those, though, oddly.
Yeah, a couple kitchen sink ales that I've done like that. Really nice. Just anything left over.
Just throw it in. Cool. So I imagine it varies depending on the batch, but just in general, how long does it take to brew a batch of beer?
The time investment of the brew day is going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending on what you're brewing and how complicated you make it. Then the actual fermentation itself takes anywhere from a week to 3 weeks for ales, and then you're ready to either bottle or keg. So at the simplest, it's ready to go in 2-3 weeks. But the more robust, complicated, and essentially the cleaner beers are going to take a lot longer. So, and then when you get into your lagers, it could be months.
So what advice would you give to a home brewer who's just starting out? Like, what's the one key thing that might not be readily seen?
Be patient. Understand your sanitation regimen. Understand your routine with sanitation. Learn the difference between cleanser and sanitizer. It's a huge thing that.
So you can't use something like Star Sand to clean a bucket, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't mix sanitizer and cleanser. There were a lot of little things that when we started out, nobody actually pointed out. Everyone said use bleach. Everyone said use iodine. Blah 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 blah. We just got our sanitation regimen down, and we were patient with beer. We let it develop over time, and we just had fun. It's nothing in beer. There's no known pathogens that can live in beer because of the osmotic pressure, the alcohol, the everything else. So whatever you make is going to be good no matter what you make. And if you don't like if it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, you just rename it. So basically, brewing is about having fun. It's about being social. It's about talking to other people about beer. It's about sharing your passion, your love of beer. So
Cool.
I would say just have fun, be patient, and talk to other people about it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I read on the website that you guys hold homebrewing classes pretty regularly. Can you describe some of the classes for us, what you guys offer?
The classes are extract-based with a little bit of steeping grains, just for color and some flavor. We hold them on Mondays. We meet here at the shop at 7 p.m. We walk through the equipment, every piece of equipment that we sell, we use, so that you can see how each piece of equipment, sort of to demystify what that equipment is and what it does. And then we help walk you through that process. We heat up the extract, we heat up the water, we boil, we throw in hops, we cool it down, we put it in a fermenter, and then it ferments in a temperature-controlled fermentation chamber. And then 3 weeks later, you come back. We teach you how to bottle the beer, and you bottle it yourselves, and then you get to keep something.
Very cool. And how much does that class cost?
$50.
Okay.
And that covers both sessions that are staggered 3 weeks apart.
Okay.
So we start on one Monday, and then 3 weeks later we finish on that Monday.
Cool. Very cool. So going to close out here, I just want to ask you, so what is your favorite beer style to brew? Like if you could only pick one style to brew, what would it go? What would you go to?
Changes all the time. 2 years ago I would have said a Weizenbach, a dark wheat Doppelbock like Aventinus or Erdinger Picantis. But right now, and Aaron and I have different beers that we like. I like the more maltier stuff. He likes more of the hoppier stuff. So it's cool because I've gotten to brew IPAs that I never would have brewed before. Double IPAs, single hop IPAs, things like that. And whereas he's brewed, like I said, the Weizenbachs, malty beer, Doppelbocks, Oktoberfests, Martins. But right now we're kind of gravitating towards like English bitters and milds and things that just have a simple malt character and a nice clean hop flavor. So it ranges all over, just depends on which week you catch us.
Yeah, sometimes simple is better. I mean,
yeah. Cool. And people usually gravitate back towards simple. They go really super complicated and want to throw all sorts of stuff at it. And they go, you know what, I just want a clean, decent beer I can drink.
Cool. And then last question, so not homebrew style, but what would be your favorite commercially available beer? So if you had to go to the store and grab a beer that's already in a 6-pack, what are you going for?
I'm gonna go for, I go for seasonal stuff. Like right now I'm very much into Brooklyn Summer Ale, which is technically, I guess, a Kolsch style. But it's super clean, it was nice and malty. So I'm very much into things like that. But I also like the Belgian Grand Cru's, so I'll go for something like that. I'll go for like a Cuvée Van de Kaiser. The Cuvée Van de Kaiser Blau is one of my favorites. But sometimes a simple beer like a Dixie Brewing Company's Black and Blue Lager is in my top 5 just to drink, just to have. So beers like that. Also Green Flashes and Freak right now. Is a Belgian triple and an IPA mixed together. And it's good. Really smooth, and it'll knock you on your butt, but it's really, really delicious because it's got the best of both of those worlds. It's got your malty, it's got your hoppy. So I range all over. That's probably what I would look for. I'd look for something along those lines, either a session beer like the Black and Voodoo Lager, or something that's really gonna knock your socks off like the Little Freak.
Cool. With us being local, can you give me a recommendation where to find some of this stuff? Because I know not everywhere is going to carry a lot of these. You can't go to Publix and find a lot of this.
Although Publix is widening their selection, and they do so every day because they're a major purchaser in Florida. The places I go are like Easy Liquor up off of Upsala and 46 in Sanford. They've got a really good selection. Despite the exterior, it doesn't look like a place that's going to have really good craft beer. Those guys have some amazing beers over there. That's where I first tasted the Cuvée Van de Kaiser Blau, which is amazing. But also the ABC on Reinhardt in Sanford as well is one of the, actually it was named the top craft beer selection of ABC's in Florida.
Yeah, I've been to that one with all the meats and stuff.
Yeah,
Really
Steve over there, the manager, does an incredible job. He's on top of everything. He's on top of the trends, knows what's coming out, gets stuff before anybody else. So he does a fantastic job as well.
Great.
So yeah, that's my 2 go-to places right now.
That's all I can ask for. Well, dude, we appreciate it very much. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
And everybody come check out the Sanford Homebrew Shop.
So there you go, episode 1 of the can. We appreciate you stopping by and checking us out. Once again, my name's Preston. This is John. We're the Beer Chasers, and we will see you later.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And some beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.